Welcome to Sancho Live. We have a little bit of a live audience up on panel. Hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Am I still frozen?
You're good now. You're
Okay.
good. You took a little hiatus recently from the YouTube. You kind of want to walk us through what your mindset was and how you're feeling right now?
Um, what my mindset was when I took the hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough, honestly. My mindset when I took the hiatus, I wrestled with it, honestly, because it wasn't so much of a financial decision. Because again, like I said, I don't really do this for the money.
Mm-hmm.
When I officially decided I was gonna take a break, it was solely for my safety. Because of what was going on across America, and I felt like cops needed a reason to be as straightforward and blunt about their safety, I would call it. And so they used what was going on in America as like their like launching pad into let's skip no turns, let's cut no corners. We don't put up with anything. We don't tolerate anything at this point. They felt like their life was in jeopardy at any given moment. And me being an educated black man from the South, doing what I do with law enforcement, I just didn't feel safe because I felt like they would have took me being argumentative as a threat, and I already have my gun on me, and so I felt like I just didn't want to put myself in that situation with an officer who didn't know how to handle it. And I know that a lot of agencies around here, because I've seen the memo, I know a lot of agencies out here are in retaliation mode, and they just want to put me in jail just for something stupid. Even if they know I can get out, they just want the embarrassment of saying, hey, I got him locked up. And so I just kind of took a break, honestly. It was just too much to deal with.
Full disclosure, I use the air quotes when I say the C word when it comes to this, because like the word is difficult to even say sometimes. There's no like community at one point, and there is community every now and then. Did you or have you ever felt, I'll be honest with you, I'm feeling it right now, the burnt out factor from the community and the toxicity that's around you when it comes to this community and movement?
No.
Do you feel like, we just played the video about the money leechers and how they leech for money too much. 8 months later, do you feel like that's still a problem?
Yes, and I think money will forever be a problem as long as there's value to our dollar in America. And the fact that there's so many people who are willing to help people in this community, I wouldn't even call it a community because at this point there's no togetherness. Honestly, I would just say in this movement, hell, I wouldn't even call it a damn movement. I don't know what you want to call it, but you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. There's so many people who's willing to help do what we do. People take advantage of it. And once they're taken advantage of, it's too late to undo it at that point. And so I feel like as long as there is value in the dollar in America, it's going to forever be those leechers in this, whatever you want to call this that we're doing. But ultimately, that didn't play a factor in me deciding to want to come back. Because honestly, and I talked to a good friend of mine, I was going to sell my channel. I was going to sell my channel for about $90,000. I was going to sell it and just be done with it and not even deal with it no more. And I was like, nah, you know what? I don't think that's enough. So then I was going to sell it for about $230,000. And I had a few companies reach out to me about buying it, but then like I honestly just thought like, if I sell it, I'm selling a lot of people short because a lot of people look up to me. And I wouldn't say I felt burnt out, but I felt like nothing would ever change. And so I felt like we were just going out here going through the motions. And the reason I wanted to come back and start back doing this because honestly, without this sounding conceited or without it sound like I'm full of myself, people really need me out here. And so that was really one of my deciding factors of why I decided, you know what, I think I'm gonna come back.
Did you walk us through your childhood? What was it like growing up? You're from South Carolina, right?
Yes. Growing up, I was black. Let me tell you about it.
You were? Okay. Did not know that. That's an interesting fact, everyone.
It's crazy because people think that they see me now and they hear the etiquette in which I speak and they see my lifestyle and they think I was raised with a silver spoon. And it's crazy because I grew up on Section 8, which is weird. And for people who don't know what Section 8 is, I wouldn't say we was poor, but my parents lived check to check.
Mm-hmm.
when I was growing
Same.
up until about maybe the later part of middle school or early high school. My dad took a different career path, and that really launched us into a different, I guess you call it, tax bracket. And then my mom finished her degree thing and um, became a doctor and stuff. So it's definitely different. But my childhood, honestly, I grew up, and it's crazy because I grew up where people would tell you don't deal with the police, you stay away from the police, you don't have any type of run-ins with them. And so it's like now doing what I do now, like I invite conversation, like I invite their presence. And so growing up as me, it was my parents kind of always knew that I was going to be the strange kid because I always challenged everything. Like I felt like there was always more to something. Like it could never be just what it was. Like it was always something more. Um, so I was definitely one of the most difficult kids growing up because I asked a lot of questions growing up.
What role models did you have growing up?
My dad for one, and it's crazy. Like racism in America is so bad. I tell people that my dad was my role model, and they was like, "Oh, you know your dad?" Like, yeah, I know my dad. My parents were married. But now my dad is probably my biggest role model and one of the most influential men in my life, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really the only answer because that was an in-house role model. I can give you a lot of celebrities I looked up to, but it really doesn't count as much because my dad was like in home every day, like hands-on in my life.
There's always I don't want to say like a label on a lot of auditors and cop watchers. First, what would you call yourself?
Me,
Auditor, cop watcher, activist?
I wouldn't even call it that. I'm just me. I don't do labels in anything in my life. I'm just me.
What do you think about those who say that a lot of people who film the police only do so because they have a prior history with them and anger towards them?
That's that's the stupidest thing ever.
You feel like there are people out there who, I mean, I can name you 7 or 8 names right off the top of my head who have that anger towards the police because of how they were treated in the past and
But
the youth, you know.
what that is when you hear that kind of statement, it's deeper than that. Because if they were treated that way in the past, and now they know the type of relationship that we should have with law enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
they get back into it to show law enforcement, hey, this is how I've been treated. This is how I should have went because this is a job you should have done. So I can understand that, but I know most people don't think that deep, and their intellect doesn't run that deep. If I had dealings in the past with corrupt law enforcement, and then I fast forward 10 years later to where I am now, and I know what I know when it comes to law enforcement, would I want to get out there and try to change that narrative? Absolutely. So I can get why some people would have a negative history with law enforcement, and then they get into this movement, if you want to call it that. But I mean, I don't think people just want to target law enforcement just because they have a terrible past with them. I think that's stupid.
My public stance on it, I've never audited, never cop watched. You know, I've been a fan of yours for a while. Before I even was El Sancho, I publicly stated you were on my bucket list of people to interview. What is your opinion on my following, on what I'm about to say following? You know, I think there are bad cops out there, but I think it's important for auditors, activists, whatever you want to call them, to also highlight the good cops and show a steady balance. And yeah, if there's bad cops out there, let's blow them up and highlight them, but let's have a legitimate excuse and reason why we're doing so.
So I think that's one of the reasons why my channel is different, because I don't mind shedding light on the good cops. And I know a lot of people, especially people that are in this for the financial gain, they like the negative altercations. They only want to run into bad cops. And I feel like a lot of people have had a lot of run-ins with a lot of good cops, and they don't post a video because it doesn't get viewed as much. And I think that that's part of the backlash. Well, I won't say backlash. I think that's part of the negative connotation that this community has, because everybody wants to show the bad cop. Everybody wants those views. Everybody wants that reaction video. And they don't want to show, hey, you know what? I met this cop. He really didn't do anything wrong, and it's not a good quality video, but I really want to show this good cop. I feel like we don't have enough of that. That's why I feel like my video of Chief Green is a staple in what we do, because he didn't have to give me a ride along. He didn't have to share the information he shared with me. Now, whether or not he picked and chose what information to share, I don't care. I mean, all right, whatever. That's them. But the fact that he did it shows me that not every cop are the cops that we choose to show for a reaction. And I think if we did more of showing that there are good cops, I think we could kind of help change the narrative instead of going out and provoking the narrative, as they call it. But I mean, I'm just one person out of hundreds who do what I do, and I can't change their mindset.
What, you took a little hiatus. We talked about it earlier. What was the spark that was lit to I mean, 8 months is, it's been 8 months, right? It's been about 8 months. That's a long time. Were you stuck in, I don't want to say complacency. I mean, you got a family, you got an everyday life. Were you adapting well to that without the urge to come back? And if so, what lit that flame for you to decide, I want to do this again?
I'll be honest. The whole time I was gone, I wanted to. Like, you don't understand. Like, there would be days where I would carry myself like I was going to do an audit and never did one. Like, I would go to the police department, see how it is, see where I would park, see how I would go out and like do what I do. But I just never did the audit. I mean, so I definitely had the urge. I just didn't. I was so complacent with my safety at that point. I just didn't want to do it. But like, there's so many places that I'm going to start doing when I come back from this trip out west that we're going on. Places that I have that I want to do is unreal. I mean, and some of them local, and I know I'll probably get the reaction from the employees there and not the reaction from the law enforcement because they know me. I mean, but I still think that those places are worth the visit. But I mean, I wouldn't say something sparked me to want to come back because I like that urge never left. I just had to fight the urge because at that point my safety mattered more than a few views on YouTube.
1 second, Sarah. How much sleep have you gotten?
Not that much. And I'm not. I can't go to sleep now. It's too early.
You're falling asleep on me. You're falling asleep on me, Sarah.
No, I'm not.
It's Sarah's phone that's making that noise. I heard. I thought it was my phone. It's
Sarah. Is it?
Yes, it is. Anytime.
She's saying no. Sarah, if you doze off, I'm gonna hit you backstage for you to hang out. Okay. I don't want anyone to see you snoring. I don't want that.
I won't sleep.
Not saying you snore, but now he's yawning. You see what you're doing, Sarah? There you got my guest yawning because you're yawning. Come on, Sarah. Walk us through your first video you ever did and what changes, if any, are there now?
Why you gonna do that to me? Hold on. Aunt, what butch? Maybe that okay. My first video, that's cringeworthy, dude. That's weird. I even told them my name at the end of it, which is even more weird. I don't know, man. My first video was very cringeworthy, but I think it's a great staple in who I am because that video showed me that I had to have a backbone. And so I would say the only change between then and now is just mental growth, my ability to retain information and not just let it go in one ear, not the other. Adaptation, adapting to difficult situations. Because I've been in a lot of difficult situations. I've been spit on. I've had guns drawn on me. I've been touched. I've been pushed, and the fact that I'm still alive, I think is a great statement and a great testament to the way I've grown and the way I carry myself. And I always look back on that first video like if it wasn't for that video and a few people who's helped me along the way, I wouldn't know what I know today. And so that video is honestly like I probably never. One day when I'm all done with YouTube, I'll never delete that video. That'll be the only video that's left on my page, and I'll never delete it. That video, that cringeworthy video.
What equipment upgrades have you done since the beginning to now?
None. I mean, I bought a few GoPros. I lied. I bought. I bought a Canon. Well. Okay. Yes. Sure. I bought it. A Canon camera, but between me and you. And I don't know how many people you got watching this live, but between me, you, and them, I probably never taken on an audit just because it's just big and bulky. Well, it's not big and bulky; it's just bigger than my phone.
What influences did you have on YouTube in the movement when you first started? I mean, you're at 133,000 subs right now. Great job on that. When you had no subs, who was there for you as far as, I mean, even supporters? You can give some, you can throw some names of day one people. Any auditors, cop watchers, and day one supporters? Let's hear them.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Blame Sarah. I'm just kidding, Sarah.
Kim, Constitutional Kim was and still is probably my biggest behind the scenes.
The Sarah?
Yeah, that Kim right there. She just come in and I seen it. Kim was probably, well, I won't say was. Kim is the biggest supporter that I have. Like I wouldn't be me today if it. It's cold as a bitch out there. Yeah. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for Kim. Kim, Big Nick for sure. I also want to thank Patrick, because Patrick showed me who not to be. So Patrick definitely gets a shout out. I love you, Patrick, if you're watching. Kim, Big Nick. When I met Miss Lisa, that was a moving moment. Also, that opened my eyes to a lot. Oh man, I mean, the list goes on, and I don't want anybody to feel less important because I don't mention their name, but I'm arrogant enough to say that Kim and Big Nick are probably Kim, Big Nick. I mean, those are probably the two people, and a lot of people won't give him credit, and I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for this. But David Earl Warden, before I started doing what I'm doing, I used to like hit. The first video that I ever seen of doing this was of News Now Houston, doing the audit, and I was like locked in on that because I wish you shut the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
It was as much shit as he's caused in the community, as we would call it. He's a brilliant man when it comes to what he knows, and so a lot of his videos I watched, and I learned a lot from him just watching him. I wouldn't say he's a role model, absolutely fucking not. But I mean, as far as the knowledge that I got from him, he's a brilliant man, and I'll never deny that. I don't really care how much backlash he gets or how much backlash I get for mentioning that, but he's a brilliant man. And I can't leave out Donkey because I know I'll hear about it in Discord. Donkey, I love you. Donkey's the only other YouTuber that I've had brunch with, so nobody can say that. But yeah, Kim and Big Nick were probably like my backbone in this.
What's your take on, I mean, obviously David Earl gets a lot of flack for what happens behind the camera. What's your opinion, take on looking at both sides of the fence? I mean, we're looking at auditors and cop watchers who do good work, but their professional work and their personal behavior, mistakes, etc., may not line up. What's your take on that?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I know that's not the answer you're looking for. I don't give a shit. Not because you asked me, but because it just doesn't affect my life. Like whatever they put on YouTube for us to see, even though I don't watch YouTube anymore now that I'm a YouTuber. Whatever they put on the internet for us to see, sure, cool. If it's good stuff, it's good stuff. I give you thumbs up. If it's not, I'm gonna tell you it's terrible. But what they do off that camera, that's between them, God, and the judge. I don't give a shit what they do. So whatever they're accusing News Now Houston of, if he did it, burn in hell. If he didn't do it, we need to leave him alone. I don't care. He did it like it's not affecting me.
You said his name and he appears. Colorado Donkey Watch. There he is.
Donkey. Hey, buddy.
That's pretty cool. You can say a name and they show up on my chat. Let's keep trying that up. We got Pink Camera Magic even in there. Hello, Pink Camera Magic. How are you?
Hey, Pink. But yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean, that's just my take on it. I'll never speak on what somebody does off camera that they don't show us, and I'll never go digging for information. If it's for me to see, I'll see it. I'm just not that person.
How often do you have rookies reaching out to you for advice? I mean, obviously you have, I would say, one of the most subs.
Every day. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. Every day.
Do you get overwhelmed by it, or how do you react to it?
I pay somebody a month to do my emails. I cannot make this up. I pay somebody every month to manage my emails, and my social media for me, because it is unreal. I'm not exaggerated. I don't want to sound like some big shot auditor. I promise I'm the most humble human being on earth. I pay somebody every month to do my emails for me. I'm dead serious.
So let's save you some time here. Let's do a little blueprint. You know, it's one of those commonly asked questions. So I'm going to ask you. You can clip this and put it on your channel if you want. You can send them the sound clip. They ask questions. Here it is. You have the opportunity right now to do a blueprint of the top 5 things you should do and that you should not do when you audit, cop watch, advocate, etc. Let's start with the things that you should do. Hit me with the top 5 things that you should do, whether it's equipment, attitude, demeanor, whatever it is. Hit me with the top 5.
So I'm gonna give you a top 5, but it's gonna be very biased because I audit different. I don't plan out audits. I don't plan reactions. Everything comes off the top of the head, and it's like this. So I have to be on my feet at all times. Like people say, "Oh, you're so quick-witted, you always have a response." I don't know that response is coming. I just take what they give me, and it just goes. But I will tell you, the first thing that I would tell an auditor: don't talk too much, and only repeat what you hear. Don't assume. Repeat what you hear, and feed them their words. That's the best advice I can give anybody, because if you let a cop talk long enough, he'll talk in circles and he'll contradict himself if you let him talk enough. If you talk too much, you're going to contradict yourself. You don't want to do that ever. And then again, that's not something I sit and think of. That's just intellect that I have, and it's like rapid fire. It just comes. That's probably the biggest thing outside of know your shit. Don't go out there cold turkey, not knowing anything, and expect it to just fall in your lap, because they prey on people like that. They hope that you don't know just enough of a gray area ordinance that they can use against you, and then now you're in handcuffs for disorderly conduct. That's honestly probably the biggest thing that I would tell people, is know your shit, especially your local city ordinances. Know them like the back of your hand. Know the gray area of them. Know which laws and which ordinances they give officer discretion in. Know those. And that's all one. Like, I didn't give you a lot. That's all one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, like I said, listen more than you speak. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen more than you speak. Another one is what's that? 2. I got 3 more. 3 do's. Always have a backup camera. Always. Well, I say 3 is always have a camera, period. Not even have a backup camera. Never talk off camera, ever. Never talk off camera, because your footage lives, their footage always disappears. You never talk off camera. And I would say 4th and 5th is stand tall and believe what you believe, and don't let them change it. And
top 5 things you've seen on YouTube. You've kind of shook your head like, God, that's not how this should be done. What are the top 5 things of a do not? You know, it's like a pro wrestling commercial. Do not try this at home. I don't think, this may be controversial, but I don't think everyone is cut out for this. I don't think everybody should be filming the police. They shouldn't. This is something that should be for certain people.
A great example of this, and I say this, I know it's going to get back to him. He's probably going to have my channel flagged, because they do this kind of stuff. People flag my channel because they don't like me.
Me too.
Don't be Patrick. And again, I have no personal problem with that man. I have every problem with the way he carries himself when he calls himself an auditor or a cop watcher, whatever the hell he calls himself. Don't be that guy. Another is when you come into this for the financial gain and the publicity of being known as a big YouTuber, you're already in it for the wrong reason. That's damn going out doing audits. When your mindset is already wrong, you're already in it for the wrong reason. And a lot of people are doing this for a quick rise to internet fame, and it's not cool. Like, I had somebody email me the other day, say, "Man, I just want 100,000 subs," and I told them, I don't care if you had 100,000 or 500,000. If you ain't shit, you just ain't shit. And it sounded rude, but that's just the best way I can give it to him. But honestly, the 5 like shake my head, don't do this thing. Honestly, when it comes to auditing, don't be Patrick. Don't be an asshole. That's you can get a lot further in what you do if you just carry yourself the way I do. Just don't be an asshole. If you know what you know, stand firm in it. You ain't gotta yell, you ain't gotta fuss, you ain't gotta cuss. I'm not saying it's not okay to be human and show emotion. That's not what I'm saying. But you can get the same point across, speaking the way me and you were speaking, versus you yelling, fussing, and cussing, because now you're in handcuffs for public disorderly conduct, and that's a gray area charge. If they feel that way, then that's just how they feel, and you're not gonna beat the ride. You may beat the case, but you ain't gonna beat the ride. Now you got to deal with your mugshot.
I got a couple lawsuit threats thrown my way from that camp that you've already mentioned over a St. Jude's donation that April 12th he said he was going to make.
I've heard. I don't know anything about that, but I've had people eat.
All right, how are we with time, D?
I'm good. I'm good as long as you're good.
I'm good. Walk us through what was the moment where you kind of said, you know what, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. You know, what happened? What was going through your mind? Was it a certain incident that just put it over the top? Can you hear us? Peanut, you answer that question. That was a damn good question. I'm just kidding.
What was the question again?
Just what motivated you to pick up a camera and start this advocacy work that you do?
I guess what motivated me.
Oh, he's in a ground now.
Again,
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's a little staticky, but we can hear you. It's a little staticky, but we can hear you. You're back?
Is it staticky now?
It's a little bit, but if you can kind of walk us through what the moment or situation where you put in that motivated you to start a YouTube channel.
Hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay. You say what motivated me?
What was the motivation for you to turn into a normal Joe to a YouTuber, starting a YouTube channel?
Honestly, watching News Now Houston and Big, those were the first two videos, and I don't even know how they popped up on my YouTube that day, but they did. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. And I did. And it's been uphill ever since.
How nervous were you when you grabbed your? Now, was it just your cell phone, or was it a separate camera during your first filming? What and B,
it was my.
How nervous were you? And C, some cop watchers and auditors I've talked to, they've kind of described an adrenaline rush when they hit that record button. Do you experience a feeling that's similar to that at all?
Honestly, no, I don't. It's just another day for me. And again, I don't want to sound arrogant like I'm just better than everybody else. I'm not saying that at all, but that anxiety, that rush they feel, I don't feel it. It's just another day. But my very first audit that didn't make a video, was I nervous? Hell yeah, I was. I was like this nervous. Like I'm talking about, like, yeah, it was bad. But that didn't make a video, because like nothing happened. They was just like, okay, that was it. I mean, and that was it. And then my very first video that I was able to get on video was the one that I posted as my actual first audit. By that time, the nerves had come down a little bit, but I just wasn't as competent. Like I didn't know what I know now. I mean, so I would definitely say I was nervous. But now it's just another day. I mean, say what?
No, I was gonna hear you. So now it's just another day for you.
Another day, another audit. Let's just see how this goes. I mean, when I open carry, depending on what I'm carrying, I'm gonna start doing some AR-15 open carries, and some long rifle open carries, I think that raises a little more red flags, but I don't. It's not going to deter me from doing it. I mean, I don't, because again, I know what I know, and I'm very firm in what I know, and I'm not going to let that shake my foundation. But does that concern me a tad bit because I know there's some trigger happy cops? A tad bit, but I mean, again, you won't know till you know.
There's obviously a different mood and mindset when it comes to 1A versus 2A, correct?
I wouldn't say. I mean, it's a different mindset. Well, it's the same mindset, just different level of trying to think how to word it to where it makes sense in y'all head the way it does in mine. It's the same mindset, different level of focus, if that makes sense. Because when I'm doing 1A stuff,
mm-hmm.
I don't have to focus as much because I know my competence and my intellect is going to really just be rapid fire, and I know I'm confident in myself that much. When it comes to 2A stuff, there's always an ulterior motive in the cops when it comes to his self-defense mechanisms, and I feel like cops are so itchy with I got to think fast because he may make a fast move, and so I feel like when I do 2A stuff, cops have to feel like they have to be one step ahead of me. And that bothers me sometimes because I can never pick their brain apart. And I'm really good at reading people. And that's why I'm always as calm as I am when I do this. But when I do 2A stuff, that it's like all my senses are like on a different level because they have to be.
Do you feel when you go on your 2A audits, what's more of a weapon, your phone or a gun?
Color.
Say it again?
My skin color.
Your skin color.
That's the most dangerous weapon I have in today's America.
Do you feel like that'll ever change?
No.
What's your mindset on that? Are you complacent, accepting, realizing that it's an uphill battle? Did you at one point try to change that?
That makes the most difficult. So, honestly, and I commend you on this, that may be the most difficult question I've ever been asked in my life about my mindset on the fact of people's terrified of my skin color. That's probably the most difficult question I've ever been asked, but I'm glad you did because we can break that down together. I'm not complacent, but I am. And I say that because I can only physically alter my life. So I can't get mad at you because you feel like I don't matter because of my skin color. And I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general.
Mm-hmm.
So do I let that make me lose sleep at night? No. But at the same, hold on, y'all.
No problem.
Nice pre-roll. All right, homie, I'm going. Appreciate it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Do I? Okay, wait. So where was I? Because
we were talking about weaponizing your skin color.
So do I? Kids, if you're watching me, please don't ever video chat and drive because I'm totally doing it right now.
Your seatbelt's on. You're good.
Am I complacent? Yes, but no, because again, I can't change the way you think, and I can't change the way you look at me because if perception is reality, I have to accept the fact that everybody's perception of me is different. I get that, but do I agree with the fact of to others, my skin color is the most dangerous weapon that I possess? That doesn't sit well with me, but at the same time, it puts me on a bigger platform to have my voice heard, if that makes sense. So it's not that I'm okay. Yes, I've accepted the fact that I'm black. And I'm proud of it. But does it scare me at times? Yes. And I don't know how to, and I don't want to get into that conversation because that's a deeper topic, and I know some don't want to hear it. Some people don't understand the whole Black Lives Matters movement, and that's not something that I want to get into. I mean, I genuinely hate the fact that my skin color has been weaponized, and it shouldn't have.
Do you feel like law enforcement in 2021, because of the Floyd and because of the, like the Malcolms and because of everything that's been transpired this year alone, Elijah McClain, I broke down his body cam in tears with what I saw to that kid and what happened to him. Do you think 2021, we obviously know law enforcement is more educated and aware on cameras with everything that's been going on. And right now they may be leery of cameras and they may look away from cameras. Do you feel like all of this media, which I think is great, I think exposing bad police officers is huge, and I'm glad those individuals had a camera. Do you think, though, the other side of the fence, law enforcement's going to be more avoidance of cameras at all now because of this?
And I'm going to tell you why I think they're not, is because the government allows it. Think about it this way, and I had to break it down to somebody else's way, and it made perfect sense. If you told your kid that they could slap the shit out of the other kid, do you think your kid's not going to do it because somebody's watching? No. They're going to do what you tell them to do. So law enforcement isn't going to not be corrupt just because there's more cameras out. When the government aids you and allows you to act that way, you're going to do it. So I don't care if it's 1 camera or 3 billion cameras. Cameras aren't going to stop what's going on. We can't film everything. And again, and I put that kid analogy in there because that's just the most simplistic way I can put it. If I tell my kid to go slap his kid, my kid's going to do what I say because I allow them to do it. If I have an underage kid at home that wants to drink and I say, hey, you know what, I know you're 21, but you can have that beer. If I let them get away with it, they're going to do it. And when you put that in retrospect, that's our law enforcement and our government and our judicial branch. Why would they stop doing what the highest branch of government allows them to do? So I don't think it's going to change in 2021. If anything, it's going to get worse because, damn, you know what? He killed so-and-so, and he got away with it. It's self-defense. He was on administrative leave. Damn, he killed so-and-so. Damn, she broke in his apartment, shot him in the chest. She finna get off. They said 5 years, but she's going to do 2.5 and get out with good behavior and do 2 years probation because we know how that's going to go. So when you see this repetitive behavior, it's no longer a mindset. It's just a matter of when is it going to be my turn. And I think that is the scariest shit ever for anybody. That's the scariest shit ever. That those are the people that we employ, and they take money out of our checks to pay those people when that's their mindset. It's more so of, it's not, damn, I don't ever want to be that cop. It's, damn, so when is it going to be my turn to just freely kill somebody and get away with it and brag about, damn, all they did was spin me. I think that's scary.
I've been a big advocate of body cams. I've done multiple streams advocating every police department needs one because I think body cams clear any officer of wrongdoing or bad doing. Is that how you look at a camera?
Yes and no. And I completely agree with what you said of it clears them. If you did the right thing, your camera's going to show it. There's no point of even arguing the whole case out. If you did the right thing, your camera's going to show it. If you did the wrong thing, your camera's going to show it. There's no in between. But the fact that we're having to talk about this only goes back to my point of cameras aren't going to stop people from doing what they want to do. How many senseless killings of black and whites, male and female, have we seen on law enforcement cameras and they still get away with self-defense?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't think cameras are a happy medium. I mean, they sound good. It sounds damn good to say, yeah, if a cop get wrong, all we got to do is pull his body cam. Well, if it was that easy, don't you think it would have been dealt with already? So, I mean, that's my mindset when it comes to that. I think it's a bigger picture than body cams. Like, it's going to take a lot more cleaning than putting body cams on every officer.
Well, then we go into the whole 3-option debate on, when should they be turned on at all times during certain calls or when the officer chooses. I just want them implemented, and we can work on that shit later. Getting the body cams and utilizing them in a proper way. I've done, I don't know if you've been following my channel a lot, but we were doing the Daniel Holtzclaw series, that officer in Oklahoma who got convicted of raping 6 women and with no DNA evidence at all. It was an absolute scapegoat because he was one of the good officers who had a clean record. Whenever there was an excessive force complaint, he was the only one who wrote it down in detail. And with no DNA at all, they prosecuted him. And because of him, they now have body cams. And I fully believe, there's one side of the fence that we finally have a bad cop incarcerated. But what if that bad cop was wrongly convicted? And body cams would have proven that. And we potentially would have a free man if body cams were utilized. Your thoughts?
I get what you're saying. I mean, and again, and it's so tough to touch a subject because that's a subject that can run on for the next 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, like my only stance on that is it's going to take more than body cams, because if body cams were the one fix all this would have been stopped when body cams were rolled out. We're still having the same issues with them having body cams on. If they're confident enough in the fact that the government will cover up what they do even when they have body cam on, what's the point of fucking body cams?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, like, what's the point?
Have you seen departments with body cams that have been useless in trying to get justice, even though they have body cams?
Yeah, every police department out here. You tell me one policeman that's not cut from the inside, and I'll take your cake. There's no sense in anybody wearing body cams because we still have this divide in America between law enforcement and America. And if body cams were a one-fix-all, that would stop. So body cam sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when you come home late from the bar and you got to argue with a woman and you got to tell her everything that sounds good. You know damn well you're lying, but it sounds good, so you say it. Body cams were the smooth over, it sounds good conversation that they gave America, and we fought it. But they stopped. We still have killings. We still have egotistical cops who don't do their job. We still have the cops where, my body cam wasn't on. The fact that the dash cam only come on when the lights are on, I think that's stupid. That's the stupidest thing ever. That car runs off of a battery. I think a cop's dash cam and his mic should be on every single time he cuts his car. It should be on the whole time. There's no I could go on and on about that. That's the stupidest thing ever.
What's your takes on these 3 words, defund the police?
My take on what?
Do you have a response on the rhetoric out there on defunding the police?
Do I think we should defund the police?
Mm-hmm.
No. I don't. Don't, because I know I'm gonna get so much backlash for that. But I don't think we should defund the police because okay, I'm gonna give it to you in the way I understand it. I don't want to defund the police because not all of them are bad, and that hits me the same way where everybody thinks that the Black Lives Matter movement was terrible because of the actions of a few bad black people. A few bad black people decided to go do dumb shit and hide behind the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and so that ruined everybody's mindset for Black Lives Matter, right? That's how I look at law enforcement. We're deeming all of them as bad, and we're defunding ones that actually get out here and do their job. If we defund the police, Chief Green is no longer employed, has a job. Chief Green is the most genuine police chief I've ever met. That's on my YouTube channel. If we defund the police, we defund him. What has he done that's worth him being defunded? So when they say defund the police as a whole, I don't agree with that. I think if they did their job and got rid of the ones who didn't do their damn job, we wouldn't have this problem. But they don't do that because there isn't enough of the police policing the police. And That's why we have this problem with defund the police. I don't think if you defund the police, you're just gonna make everything in America worse.
I hear a lot.
Why would you be the?
I talk about highlighting the good police and shining the spotlight on the bad police, and I get a response sometimes from people. What about the good police who cover up for the bad police? Does that make them bad as well because they're covering up bad? What's your response to that?
My response to what again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So I always go on the logic of highlighting good police and highlighting bad police. I think it needs to be like a steady 50-50 balance. What's your response to a lot of responses I get to that? What about the good cops who cover up for what the bad cops do? Does that still make them good cops?
Yeah, well, I would say, that sentence in itself is oxymoron. Because if I kill my neighbor and you saw me kill my neighbor and you don't say anything, you also killed my neighbor. So if a good cop is watching a bad cop do bad cop shit and he doesn't say anything, he's now a bad cop.
Well, doesn't it depend on...
That statement in itself is oxymoron.
Right, but doesn't it depend on what's
There's
done?
No ifs and buts about it.
Let's say there's an officer who, a little rough, a little excessive.
There's no justifying that.
Nothing.
You correct it right then and there. Again, and again, that goes back to the child analogy. Wrong is wrong in my house when it comes to my kids. There's no, you only did this. You did this amount of wrong. Your brother did this amount of wrong. I'm going to punish y'all different. No. Wrong is wrong. That's like saying a lie is a lie. I don't care if you lied about your age or lied about your pay stub. A lie is a lie. That's how law enforcement look at each other. There's no such thing as, he did this amount of wrong and it should have been. No, wrong is wrong. So if a good cop watches a bad cop do any amount of bad, whether it's on a scale of 0 to 10, a 1 or a 9, bad. And if you're going to watch that cop do that, you are now the bad cop that you just watched do that. That's my mindset on that. Because there is enough of the police and the police. If you sweep what he did under the rug, you're now just as guilty. Because ain't that how they treat us? They operate under the same law we do. If I'm guilty by association, so is he. Or do we just give them a pass?
What's your response? I mean, my channel, I call my channel a bridge between good, anti-police and pro-police, and we try to meet them, together. I go after the bad cops. I also highlight the good cops. I do a body cam breakdown every week where we show body cam footages, and then we discuss. Did the officer step out of line? What did the officer do wrong, if any? What's your response that I get from a group of people that all cops are bad?
People that say all cops are bad are idiots. And I'll be glad to tell their mom that. People who say all cops are idiots. There's no other way to cut that cake than right down the middle. They're idiots. And if you want to highlight that and post that in a separate video all by itself, I tell you what, crop this interview out and post this video, okay? If you think that all cops are bad, you're an idiot. I love you. The end. That's just the stupidest statement ever. That's like saying, hey, Sarah, I don't know you, but I love you, but I'm going to use you for an example, okay? If Sarah hated Puerto Ricans, and I'm assuming Sarah's a white lady. If Sarah hated all Puerto Ricans, is it wrong for me to assume that all white people hate Puerto Ricans?
Right.
I mean, that's just, again, most people, their brain doesn't allow them to think that deep on statements. They just barely scratch the surface and think that's deep enough, and it's not. All cops aren't bad. So people who have that mindset are idiots. Probably criminals.
I'm a big fan of human interaction, social skills, and I think first impressions are great. What's your take on auditors and cop watchers who do focus on the first impressions? I think you're one of them. And what I mean by you're one of them, I mean you sit back and you're not a part of the story. You film. You don't make it about yourself. You don't antagonize the police. you create a good first impression. You blend in. There's a lot of auditors and cop watchers who do the opposite. They do a horrendous first impression, and I feel like if you break down your people skills, it's very essential to create a good first impression from a human to human standpoint. What's your take on those that, hide behind the camera and just create a really horrible first impression when it comes to filming the police?
I I think those people who are only about like altercations, I think they're in it for the wrong reason. And first impressions are everything, but that applies to us also. If we give a cop a argumentative and a asshole first impression, can we expect that cop to do his job the way we want him to do it? That's how I look at it. Like I tell cops all the time, me nor my camera nor my gun alters your actions. You're gonna do what you want to do, whether this camera's rolling or not. This camera doesn't make you perform any certain way. You're not a robot. You're ultimately gonna do what you want to do, whether this camera's on or not. And so when I open the conversation that way, I think they automatically change the way they want their first impression to be perceived. I guess you put it that way. But I value first impression because you can tell a lot from the first 30 seconds of a conversation with somebody, and I'm sure we all can agree on that. You can tell a lot about a person in the first 30 seconds of a conversation. And so when I come in contact with law enforcement or really anybody, when I'm not doing audit, I really sit and listen to the first few things they say. Like especially if I'm like somewhere like let's say I'm standing on a sidewalk and they come out here and say, "Oh well, you get on that sidewalk taking pictures." I know immediately they're idiots. Immediately I know they're idiots. Like they're simple-minded, small fraction-minded idiots who don't know anything. And so that first impression lets me know this is either going to be a funny video and I'm just going to have my way with them, or it's going to be sad because they're going to look bad. Like I know that immediately. And I value first impressions because you only get one of them.
I've always said this to a lot of cop watchers, auditors, that it's very essential and important to build relationship with law enforcement, to have a couple of them on the inside to have a relationship with, and you obviously have that with Chief Green. Walk us through the like development of that relationship, and kind of talk about, after you talk about that like development, talk about how essential and important it is for you to do what you do and to have that relationship with, and I'm using air quotes, the other side of the fence, aka law enforcement.
And so this is where I feel like in another area of this, because I'm actually involved. I go to town hall meetings. I go to city council meetings. Like I go to them places and I speak. I don't go there to be an auditor and I want to record and say, all right, record. No, like I'm actually plugged in. Like I do this stuff. Like I don't just post videos because I want y'all to hit the thumbs up button and I want y'all to like me and I want to be known as that one guy on YouTube that has 100,000 subs. No, I could give a rat's ass about that. Like I'm literally out here doing what I say I do, and it's really hard for me to accept when people don't understand the purpose of this, and I think a lot of people don't understand the purpose. But I think you can only build relations through interactions. That's the only way you can build a relationship is through interactions. And my relationship with Chief Green has been because of interactions. Like it wasn't just that video and I said, "Oh hey bud, I'll see you when I see you." No, like when I see his police cars I park on the side of the road, they're out doing speed caps or whatever the hell it is they do, and do I agree with them generate revenue? No, but that still doesn't stop me from speaking. Hey, how you doing? And they recognize me. My name and face. Oh, you're David. You did a ride along with Chief Green. I watch you too, man. We do your videos. We study them. Like that makes me feel good inside. And like I'm sure if I'm ever pulled over by that police department, unless I am felony speeding, I can almost promise you it's going to be a, hey, man, listen, just slow it down, thank you. And that doesn't mean I'm above the law. I don't just get on YouTube talking about it won't change. Like, I actually get out here and I do it. So, like, people who complain about their lack of fellowship and their lack of positive relationship with law enforcement, it's because they're not trying. There's cops out here that really want to connect with us, that really want to make a difference. We just don't care to talk to them because all we want is that cop that's going to argue and push us around so we can sue them. And I don't agree with that. There's not enough people that care enough to make relationships.
Do you think some have an armchair quarterback mentality when it comes to the police? You know, they think they can do it better when in all actuality they can't.
I didn't hear that question. Sorry.
Do you feel like, you know, I always use the word armchair quarterback. I kind of came from sports when it comes to the Monday morning quarterback, where they kind of look at the previous games on Sunday and, oh, I wish Brady didn't throw that interception. I wouldn't have. A lot of people in this movement have that kind of attitude when it comes to the police. And, hey, this is how they should have acted. This is how I would have acted. It's difficult to say that when you don't know what their previous call was and what their next call is going to be. Do you kind of have that same logic?
First off, I don't like them people because, and again, that goes back to what I just said. Be a part of the change you want to see. Don't just sit on the couch and talk about it. Be a part of the change. If you feel like so and so should have did this, then you get out and show them how it's done. The greatest role model is the active one, and I tell my kids that the greatest role model is the active one. If you feel like so and so should have did this, or if you feel like such and such should have said this, then you get out and do it. It's easy to be a quarterback. It's easy to sit and watch film and talk about what should have happened. It's easy then. Now apply that. Go do it. Go do it. Show us that you're not just somebody who sits around and studies analytics and what could have happened, what should have happened. Show me. And again, I tell my kids that. Don't talk about it, be about it. Don't talk me to death. I don't give a damn what you're telling me you want to do. Do it. And that's how I feel like a lot of these people here need to be treated. Stop talking about what should have happened. Stop talking about what that cop should have did or what the cop should have said. Go to the next town hall meeting. Go talk to him. Go talk to the chief. Go do something about it. And if you're not going to do it, shut up.
David, do you remember my very first real cop watch?
Who am I speaking with?
Mine. Remember when the officer pulled you up?
Peanut.
My very first.
Lisa.
Yeah. He calls me Miss Lisa. Do you remember?
Okay, got it.
David was pulled over by the police, and I wound up doing the cop watch from the balcony. He was pulled over for running a stop sign.
I remember that now. Now, rightfully so, I did. I ran the hell out of that stop sign. I didn't see it. I ran that stop sign. Yes, I did.
And they let you go.
So go ahead.
And I was a nervous wreck. My hands were shaking. I knew that you carried, and I was watching the officer, and I was scared to death. And then I saw the officer tag your tail light or your bumper, made me even more nervous. But I finally relaxed after the officer took off and you pulled in, and I was like, phew.
Well, and what's crazy about that is, and I don't remember if I told you now, he recognized me because of what we did in Myrtle Beach. He recognized me. He said,
yeah.
But I know he did because his eyes lit up when he looked at my driver's license in the car. His eyes lit up like he knew exactly who I was. And they may not like me down there, but like he knew who I was, and he knew that, hey, man, listen, this guy doesn't want any trouble, or if he does want trouble, I don't want to be a part of it. He told me, hey man, listen, just look for the stop sign next time, and he let me go. And I'm not saying that I don't think I'm above the law, but the relationships you build.
Yeah, I met a Georgetown detective, and I think I told you this. I met him and his girlfriend, and he said he knew you, he knew of you, he knew your channel, and that he himself thought that you were one of the best. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, it's important for officers to de-escalate, but how important is it for you, to with a camera, to work on the de-escalation process from the get-go when it comes to law enforcement?
So the problem with other auditors, and I am not ashamed to say this. If you don't like it, you can email me. We can talk about it. Every auditor in every situation should always be the de-escalator. I don't care what the officer's doing. I don't care if you're going to be put in handcuffs. You should never be the escalator, ever, ever. And maybe I'm wrong for holding everybody to my standards. Maybe I'm wrong, and I will take full responsibility for saying maybe I'm wrong. But cops are naturally, okay, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to rephrase that. Most cops naturally are born escalators. That's just what they do. They want their way. You do it their way. If you don't do it, you're automatically a problem. You can completely reverse his mindset by being as cool as a cucumber and de-escalate it. You don't have to yell. You don't have to fuss. You don't have to cuss. You can still exercise every right that's granted to you. And this manner that we're speaking here. And if you get a cop that is still acting the way he wants to act, with you speaking this way to him, you just have no hope. But I can promise you everything in my savings account right now. Even if I can't access it because I can't take money out of my savings until I'm 52. But that's a different story. I'm almost willing to bet you that if you can speak to a cop the way you're sitting here speaking, regardless of how pissed off he is, his whole demeanor will change, because it's really hard to argue with this type of dialogue. It's really hard to argue.
Where are you with the logic of, where was I going to go with it? I'm trying to figure out how I should word it and phrase it. Do you
say it?
Police profile. How often do you get profiled by the police, and has it changed, or has it improved, or has it gotten worse?
How often do I get profiled by law enforcement?
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
Pulled over, dirty look. Like, what are the things that happen?
I don't get pulled over often. Well, for one, I'm not a terrible speeder, honestly. I think I do a pretty good job at obeying traffic laws. But I think I'm profiled more when I'm just out in general public. And I think everybody's profiled. We're just profiled differently, honestly. I think everybody's profiled. Because, be honest, you're a people watcher when you're out in public. Like, you can just see different things in different people, and you may not speak on it, but you make note of it. Like, I'm that way out somewhere. Like, I'm very cognizant of where I am at all times, and I just read people. I'm profiled every day by law enforcement, every day, especially my local law enforcement, because they know me. But I can almost guarantee you they know when my car leaves my house. I can guarantee it. But does it bother me? No. I don't let it bother me. But do I think profiling is part of the problem? Yeah.
What are your goals for 2021 when it comes to this movement, and what you do? And what were your goals when you first started your channel, and how have they differed from now?
My goals for 2021 with what I'm doing is to be understood. That's really all I care about. I could take every check that I make YouTube and donate it to the homeless for all I care. I do not care about it. The only thing I care about is to be understood and to be heard. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. I don't care if I only get 200 more subscribers between now and December of next year. I do not care. The only thing I care about is being heard, being understood, and somehow, some way, change. That's all I care about. That is really all. That's all I care about.
Do you feel like your big?
That's all I care about.
Do you feel like your biggest challenge is education? Because I feel like, I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this, but I feel like the majority of the people don't know about the Constitution and what it entails and the amendments, et cetera, and they don't know their rights. And we go back to the logic a lot of these auditors have. Rights are like, are a lot like a muscles. If you don't use them, they go to waste. What's your response to that logic that I just used and the comment that I stated, that the majority of the people, they may not know about their rights, they may not know about the Constitution, and it seems like every single day people stumble upon your channel and they become educated. Talk about the education of the masses and what challenges you have doing that, if any.
Well, my first problem is I know for a fact that there's way too many people here that don't know anything, and I think that they should spend more time on that in school versus teaching y equals x plus b. I haven't used that part of algebra since I graduated, and that's been almost 10 years ago. I mean, there's just things that they teach us in high school that don't matter, and I think that they need to take more time and teach more of it, and teach more things about the Constitution, because that matters more now than ever. And I think that there needs to be more people who's willing to go out. Well, I wouldn't even say go out. People that are willing to do more to teach people more. And I'm one of those, like, I'm a very strong critic of myself. I need to do a better job of teaching people more, not just through YouTube audits, but have more conversations with people. Be more accountable on myself of going through my emails and having these conversations with people, and teach them things. And I feel like people, as a community, as we call it, I think we need to do a better job of teaching people things we know. And I think that we have failed at that up until now, because we just care about going out, getting content, posting videos, and it's deeper than that.
What's your take on the cutthroat mentality these channels can be? You're looked at as a threat with your 133,000 subs. You're either looked at as a role model or a threat to some with envy. What's your take on the cutthroatness of this, and I'm using air quotes, movement?
You want me to be honest?
Mm-hmm. That's why you're here. You're here to be honest.
They can wholeheartedly kiss my ass.
What was your
I'm
first?
looked at as a threat because of.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, what was your first kind of wow moment when you realized that?
My first kind of wow moment when I realized what exactly?
How competitive and cutthroat this movement can be. I mean, obviously, the more subs you get, the more haters you get as well. What was the first moment that you discovered, like, wow, I thought everyone was on the same page and all about, holding police accountable? What was that first moment that you looked at that as?
When my channel went from about 600 subs to like 27,000 subs in like 2 weekends after I did my first open carry, and I started noticing like a lot of people, like, especially so. And I'm not name dropping because I have a problem with these people. I mean, I'm sure they've made thousands of dollars off me. I don't care about it. But like when the people out in California started sharing my videos and started posting it on their channel and stuff, and my problem when I first started this was I would read comments, and then like now I don't even care to read now. But like my problem was like I would read comments, and people was really mad at the fact of like I remember one page, and I won't say this person's name. God bless it. So he was like, "Damn, I've been doing this for a few years now, and I can't even get these kind of subs." And he's just going out doing that stuff because he knows people's gonna watch it. And I'm just like, my bro, listen, like it's not that deep. It's just a video. But like I've noticed the hate and the animosity from day one. Honestly, I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me.
What was your initial goal for sub count? Were you happy with what you got? Were you kind of blown away by the sudden rise and the sudden, sub count within the two, as you described, that 1 month period where it jumped as fast as it did? What was the video that that got you that first wow moment, that first break?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How about now?
Hello?
Can you hear us? Yep. Can you hear us? Oh, I think you pressed the wrong button.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get you back. Patience is a virtue, right?
Hello?
How about now? Can you hear me? All right. Thumbs down, Sarah. Well, I mean, Sarah's my translator. Can you hear us?
Can y'all hear me?
Welcome back. Is this one of your first? Is this one of your first panel appearances?
I think there may be one or two. I don't remember. I have a terrible mememory.
I feel kind of special. A little bit.
So there's another. So there's another person who's gonna want to interview me. I just never have time. So I feel bad. I just never have time.
I've been chasing you for months. You know that.
And I know, and I feel bad. I don't do my emails.
No, I'm still. There's a little echo on your phone. Are you listening to the interview, or is it on speaker? Yeah, there's a little echo whenever I talk.
Hold on.
Okay, mic check. Better now. Better now.
All right, Keith. Is it echo now?
Good. Nope, we're good now. We're good now. Have you traveled out of state to do? Can you hear me? You good now?
Is there still an echo?
There is, but we'll deal with it. Have you traveled out of state and done auditing, or now it's good? Have you traveled out of state yet to do videos, to do auditing, cop watching? And if so, how was your treatment experience out of state compared to South Carolina?
It's definitely different because they don't see people like me often, and I don't say people like me by black people. I'm not saying that. They don't see an auditor of my stature a lot, and I approach audits different. Like I don't just go in, wait in the camera, and say, "Hey, look at me! I'm taking pictures. I want to cause a scene. Come talk to me." Like that's not me. Like I genuinely go there for a legitimate purpose, and they just don't agree to my purpose. Like prime example, like I can say, "Listen, like okay." When I got into it with the guys up in McDowell County, up in North Carolina, I went in and I spoke with the public information officer. I said, "Hey, listen, if anybody knows how to deal with the public, it's you. You're the public information officer. So I'm gonna talk to you." I said, "Ma'am, listen, I'll be in your parking lot. I'm gonna take a few pictures of a few different cars. I'll be on my way. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Okay. Her exact words were, "Okay." I wasn't out there 45 seconds before 8 cops came out there, and her asking me what I was doing. I mean, it's so I try to approach it the right way and let them hang themselves. And so when I go out of state and I do what I do, I'm almost interested to see how they're going to approach me. And I'm almost like I've had a few run-ins up in Virginia. I go back to Virginia. Honestly, that's one of the places I feel like need more attention. North Carolina knows me by name, face, address, and date of birth. They will not talk to me. I don't care where I go or what I do. North Carolina will not talk to me. I saw a memo that said, "When seen, please stay away from him." Like that memo, I can quote that memo. Dude, please avoid him at all costs. I mean, and then Georgia, they kind of know me down there. They kind of don't. But I mean, I've been out of state. But I think this trip I'm going on tomorrow is going to be a good one. I'm excited.
And you're going there tomorrow?
I leave in the morning.
Is that your official? Is that your official comeback video? Well, I know you went live yesterday for a little bit, right? How is that going live and talking to your subscribers again and seeing them again after a hiatus?
It was refreshing, honestly. Like it was very refreshing, and it was. I didn't feel like I'd been on for a while. Like I felt I didn't miss a beat. I felt like everything was still intact, and I mean, it was just like another live, honestly. But hopefully, so I'm leaving tomorrow, but I won't start doing any auditing until Friday. So hopefully Friday I can have a good welcome back video for y'all.
What's your take on? Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, and if my welcome back video is of a good cop doing right thing, that's just what it's gonna be. I mean, I can't promise anybody a good old altercation because I'm not looking for it. If it happens, it happens. But I mean, if my first video is of a cop doing the right thing and it's a great conversation, then that's just what it's gonna be.
Walk us through the biggest surprise you had on a police interaction where you had a hunch this isn't going to go right, this is going to go bad, but it didn't. You were pleasantly surprised. Do you have one that kind of pops in your head of an incident that you had a feeling was going to go bad, but it went good, or the opposite, that you thought was going to go really good, that it went bad?
No, and I say that because of my ability to read people. If I thought it was going to go bad, it went bad. If I thought it was going to be good, it went good. It's never been the other way around. It's never been the other way around.
Really? No, I was just really surprised by, so your initial, is it a gut feeling on how things are going to go? It usually goes that way.
No, I can tell how it's going to go within the first 30 seconds. I'm telling you, I was blessed with the mindset, and I'm extremely proud of it. I can tell you how it's gonna go within the first 30 seconds. I can tell you how it's gonna go within the first 30 seconds.
Can you read a room personally?
And I'm not even.
Is it a trait you have in your personal life as well, where you're able to read a room and kind of feel on some things and know how things are going to go, or is it just towards Leos?
Everyday life.
How important is it to separate family from this and to make sure you spend that personal family time and you separate the two?
It's extremely important, and I mean, I think it's a healthy balance, honestly. But at the same time, I try not to separate it because I want to include them in this because I feel like they should know also. And so, I mean, YouTube is demanding, and I say that to the people who really want to be involved in YouTube because you have to travel. Like, you have to get out, you have to travel, you have to spend money, you have to invest in yourself. I mean, so that part of it can be difficult if you're not used to the transition, but I mean, other than that, you have to have an equal balance. But, I mean, I've been doing it for a few years. So, I mean, I've learned that equilibrium.
I have a two-part question. Are you a fan of live auditing, live streaming through the YouTube, A, and B, what's your take on call flooding?
I think you should have some type of live stream. I mean, and again, I'm different because I can tell how it's going to play out if I need to go live first or if I can just do a regular recording because I know I can upload it later. I mean, but do I think live is safe? Absolutely. You say, what am I thoughts on what flooding?
Call flooding. There's some auditors and cop watchers who weaponize call flooding. When there's an illegal arrest, they call flood. Call the Warwick PD. Call the Gwinnett County Police Department, whatever town it is, on somebody wrongfully arrested for exercising their First Amendment right. But there are some people that are call flooded when it minuscule things. I don't want to. I think there's a difference between calling and letting your local officials know what's going on and harassment. And I think a lot of auditors and cop watchers cross that line from call flooding to harassment. What I mean by that is, I won't name names, but there's a lot of them out there who publicly post phone numbers and tell the public to call this number in order to demand justice, in order to lower bail money, in order to, even the stupid stuff of failure to identify. Let's call flood this department to make sure that all officers identify. It does cross that harassment line. What's your, like take on the auditors / cop watchers who, there's some who who have that do not call this number when they want them to call, bitch tits. What's your take on that with auditors and the cop watchers who weaponize call flooding to the point where it comes, it turns into harassment?
Well, my first question is, has anybody ever proved that to be effective? Because I mean, I don't call flood. I don't know if I don't think I've. I mean, well, I know I've never done it. But has anybody proved that to be effective? If it's proven to be effective, then sure, yeah, I'm all for it. But if it's not effective, then what's the point? I guess that's my question.
The one big thing I love about you is you get involved with local politics, you get involved with the city council, the meetings, etc. What's the percentage out there of auditors / cop watchers who are following that same suit? I'll be honest with you, I can't name many.
I'll be honest, I don't know many because I don't use it. I'm sorry, and Kim, and again, Kim knows almost everything about me other than what color underwear I have on that day. Kim would tell you I do not watch YouTube. I do not watch YouTube. So any type of lifestyle that other auditors have that may be good or may be bad or what for the community, I'm the last person to ask because I do not know. I don't watch them. I don't know to tell you. But back to your question, which I've forgot what it was already because I don't watch YouTube. What was your question again?
I was talking about the harassment, as far as the auditor cop watching getting involved in effectively changing ordinances, changing city ordinances. Let's start small. Let's start with the city ordinances, then we'll work on the laws, etc. I don't see many activists, auditors, cop watchers, whatever you want to call them, that involved at a governmental level like you are going to city council meetings, trying to shake the tree. And
I don't know. And if there are any out there, I've never came across any because I don't watch YouTube, but I don't think there's many. And again, because like I said, for the people who have channels big enough where they're being paid a substantial amount, they don't give a shit about none of that. All they want is that check every month on the 21st. They don't care about that. I mean, so when it comes to getting involved in doing what they say they do, I feel like a lot of them don't because it doesn't get them paid. It just that's why I said this community will forever be twisted as long as there's value to the dollar in America. It'll just never work. Because now they know I can post a couple of videos, get a couple 100,000 views, and hey, there's a $3,000 or $4,000 check I can get that month. That's all that's in their head. So they don't care about going to city hall meetings. They don't care about town hall meetings. They don't care about getting involved in the community. They don't care about any of that.
Now, what is your take on the majority of us have a car wreck mentality where we look and see the car accident that happens? It seems like a lot of activists, auditors, and cop watchers are very bloodthirsty for clicks and views. They make donations off of it. It's one of those blood, guts, and gore. Patrick, one of them, filming someone who just got in a really bad car accident, blood, gore, the whole nine. It gets a lot of views. What's your take on what endurance level does that have as far as 2021, 2022? Do you think it has a lot of legs with the blood, guts, and gore, clicks and views way of thinking? Or do you think eventually that's going to die down and people are going to be educated on that's not how things should be?
Yeah, that's never going to change. If somebody can get your attention with their, I'm trying to think how to word this. If I know that filming this is going to get your attention, which ultimately gets me paid, why would I stop filming it? If that makes sense. why would I take money out of my pocket when ultimately I don't have to? I mean, so I don't think the content's gonna change. I think the amount of content will eventually die down. Like I used to tell myself, by 2023, I don't think auditors are gonna have a job anymore because it's you can only do so much before they catch on. Like and people filming like this blood, like you said, like the blood, guts, gore stuff. I'm not a fan of it. I don't have the stomach for it. But some people on this on YouTube, they get on here every day just to watch stuff like that. So as long as you can put that content out there to them to where they don't have to leave their house to see it, it'll never stop being viewed.
What's your take on those that have watched Auditing Cop Watching videos and I can name a dozen of them now, that have seen the Abrams and the Patrickses, and they think that's how things are widespread throughout the community with every Auditor Cop Watcher? What response do you have towards them?
Honestly, I don't blame them because that's all you hear about. That's all you hear about is the Abrams and the Patricks and the Houstons and the extra good citizen. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. But that's all you hear about. Well, I won't say that's all you hear about, but that's the majority of talk you hear about when you bring up this community. I mean, and so, I mean, it's done put a dark shadow over it, and so it makes it hard for honest people like myself. Like, I hate talking about finances, but let's say one day I genuinely want to get on here and say, hey guys, listen, I want to raise $500 for Tom, Dick, and Harry for whatever the reason may be. Because of people like Patrick and Abrams and Extra Good Citizen and people like that, now people think I'm e-begging. Now people think that I just need y'all's money. Now people think that I'm just another frauder. Now people think that I'm just another guy who's looking for a quick buck. Like they've ruined the meaning behind sport. And I mean, and Kim knows me, and Miss Lisa knows me when it comes to that standpoints. If you need $1 from another man to make your life feasible, you don't need to be doing what you're doing that causes you to need that $1. And I can't fathom that enough. And Patrick is the epitome of that statement. If you need $1 from another man to fund what you get out of bed and choose to do every day, you don't need to do it. And a lot of people in this community are that way. They need others' money to make their life work, and I can't wrap my head around that. Like I physically can't do it. But it's because of people like that. If I wanted to raise, all right, I have 133,000 subs. If I told everybody to donate $1.50, so that's a lot of dumb money that we could raise towards whatever charity we decided to help that day, or whatever event we decided to fund that day. Mm-hmm. But because of people like that, if I post a PayPal link and say, hey guys, listen, I'm $4,000 short from my goal, let's raise as much money as we can within the next 48 hours. Now I'm looked at as a bad guy or e-beggar or whatever other adjective you want to put on it because of people like that. And they really put a dark cloud over this. And if you don't believe me, and again, I don't know how many people you have in this live, but I'm a great person. I'm a great show and tell person because I want to just talk about it. I give it a few days, and I'll post a PayPal pool on my channel for, I don't know, we can email each other and get it, and I can get a few people in that know me, and we can figure out some type of organization we can donate the money to. I don't care if it's St. Jude's or the local homeless shelter, or if we just raise money to give back to the local community for training purposes. I don't give a shit what we raise it for, but I can promise you that when I post that link, nobody is going to take it serious. I won't say nobody. Vast majority of people won't take it serious just because of other people who live off another man's dollar in this community. And it's bad, but I mean, it's true.
I had a stream about a week ago going after Patrick because of that St. Jude's promise. I had a big issue with transparency because he never showed the amount that was raised, and in about 2 hours, we as a community raised $600 for St. Jude's. Literally, these are all the receipts that are there, crossed out, etc. What's your take on transparency, and how important is it for transparency to exist in this movement?
I don't see how transparency isn't a must from the door. If I post a PayPal pool saying, hey guys, let's raise, I don't know, let's raise 50 grand for my neighbor whose house just burned down, and we raise 80,000, and you never see what I do with that, but then 2 weeks later you hear me flying to Bora Bora to ease my mind. Y'all got some questions. I mean, so if I can't be transparent enough to show you what I'm doing with what you're giving me, you don't need to give it to me. That's just how I look at it.
What is the response you have when I say, what are the reasons not to get into this? I feel like if you're a narcissist, you're seeking attention, you want money, those you have anger towards the police, and you're simply looking to hide behind a camera to get your frustrations out. Those are like 3 reasons to not get into this. What other reasons, if any, do you think should be a reason for someone not to get into this movement, so to speak?
A reason to not get into this kind of movement?
Don't get into this movement if you're a blank.
Don't get into this movement if you're easily moved by others' opinions. Don't get into it. That's probably the biggest one. If you're easily moved by other people's perception, don't get into it because you'll lose every day.
I always. Go ahead.
If you're easily moved by what others think of you, you're in it for the wrong reason. I mean, well, I won't say it for the wrong reason. You're not in it to win, because everybody's gonna always have their opinions. Like it's never gonna work in your favor when it comes to you want people to think. Like it's not gonna happen. So if you're not thick-skinned and if you're not strong-willed, you don't need to get into this at all.
Do you find, with your channel growing as fast as it did, do you find that it's a detriment to you now that you're so easily recognizable that police maybe, you mentioned it earlier about how they avoid you. Do you feel like they might put on a certain front because they know who you are and you're so easily recognizable?
All the time, but I can see through it. Like I know when I'm being bullshitted.
Do you feel like it's, pride's a motherfucker. I've always said that. Do you feel like one of your biggest enemies to combat is pride? And what I mean by pride is there's so many government officials, law enforcement included, that are stuck in their ways, that are not used to being told what to do. They're not being used to being like, you don't tell me the law. I'm a police officer. I tell you the law. Do you feel like pride is one of your biggest enemies when it comes to this movement?
Pride and ego are the biggest problems, and I'll gladly admit that every day. Pride and ego are the 2 biggest problems, and will ever be the biggest problem, because a grown man hates for another man to tell him he's wrong, and it never ends well, ever, never ends well, because men are egotistical and they're prideful. And I'm sorry I keep looking behind me, but this man just pulled up in his house behind me, and he circled around my car about 2 or 3 minutes ago. That's who I was giving the thumbs up to. And I know at any moment he's gonna call the police, because I'm literally sitting in the middle of an empty parking lot with my lights on. And
do you want to wrap it up?
Oh no, I'm good. I think we should want a police to come see us so he can say hey to us. I think it'd be
We
great.
could do a live cop watch. This would be great. Your comebacks
Yeah,
on
right.
Sancho. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. But yeah,
what are the weapons you
go ahead.
have? I mean, we just talked about the weapons against you, pride and ego. What are the weapons for you? Like, what are the weapons you have in your back pocket that you can utilize? I mean, whether it's, the verbal, the vitamins, or what? Like, what are the weapons you have to your advantage?
Kim is, and again, I cannot stress this enough. And Donkey is probably the luckiest man in the world. Kim is literally my backbone. Like I can't imagine where I'd be today if it was for Kim, and people do not understand the weight behind that. And maybe only me and her know that. Kim, like, that is probably the biggest weapon that I have in my back pocket at all times. She's a phone call away. And if she doesn't answer the phone, I know she's going to call me back. Kim is probably the most dangerous weapon in my arsenal when it comes to pre-gaming. And then after that, probably just with how knowledgeable and how articulate I am. I think those have honestly, and I mean, it may sound outrageous, but I think those two things those three things between Kim, my articulation, and how knowledgeable I am. I think those three things honestly have saved my life. Honestly, because I can't tell you how many times I feel like I should have been shot.
Hey guys, can I make 2 comments?
Sure.
David, and I think I've mentioned this to you, when the police had pulled you over and I was recording, I think I had a lot of fear in me because there were 2 black men in a car with a white officer. And I know that the 2 of you were probably the 2 kindest individuals I've ever met. I feared for you. I really did. And I don't know if it's whether it's because you're a black man, probably, but also being a mother, and I'm sure your mother had those same fears for you, correct? As a young black man?
Yeah, I mean, my mom is definitely one of my biggest supporters, but she's also one of the most worried people about my safety. I mean, because she's a mother first, and I know that's what it is. But like I tell her, I'm so, like, my heart is so into the possibility of change that if this is how it goes, it's just how it goes. Like I really pour my heart and soul into this, and I can't. I just can't see me being any other way, and I know I have a lot of people that are worried about me, and I mean, and at times I'm worried about me, but I can't let that alter my course. Like I can't let it stop me.
Okay, and then the second point I want to make is I definitely want to thank you for the support that you've given me. You were off screen when I said it, with the extra good citizen issue. And I'm going to say this, David was here with me. He saw all the all the messages from my phone. So there were no screenshots. But I think now it's, I'm not going to get the money back. I'm not going to sue. It would cost me more to sue. And I think for me, it's probably a healthy time to move forward, right? And let it go. I'm never going to get the money back, so there's really no more reason to squirm over it.
I think the strongest thing you could do is let go. Not harbor any anger, resentment, just letting go. I think that makes you a better person and a bigger person doing so. Dave, what are your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think letting go. Well, first off, I think forgiving and letting go would be the strongest thing you could do, because I think that would eat him up more than constant negative conversations about what he did and he wasn't supposed to do this. I think forgiving and letting go and removing that slate between you two will probably be the strongest and best thing for you as a human and as far as growing a human. And that's just how I look at situations like that, because I think harboring that situation constantly and letting it eat at you, I think that's just gonna ruin you more than it ruins him.
You know what, David? I kind of agree with you. And David, you and I joked about this yesterday. I do not own a wrench on your channel, do I?
No, you do not.
Okay. It's just a running joke, but thank you for admitting to that. I appreciate it.
So, Pina, are you officially dropping everything, holding no ill will, just moving on with this situation officially tonight?
Well, there is an official police report, so that's going to have to follow its own course. What the local law enforcement chooses to do with it is up to them. So, but as far as battling on YouTube, it's not healthy. So, I don't think law enforcement is going to go chasing after them with COVID and everything. And if the time runs out, the time runs out. We'll just see where it goes. But I'm not going to go. That I can't drop. Because then that would make me look bad. And, I try to be as honest and straightforward as possible. But that part is up to them.
You would know this with me having run-ins like we've had. I think being at peace and holding no toxicity makes you a better human being.
Yeah. And you know what, Sancho, I think that it was a very heated debate that you and I had. And, like your passion for fostering animals, my passion is mental health. So I think that's kind of where we knocked heads. Probably because of my passion of the subject.
Let's kind of question for David. There is an auditor that takes his 15 or 16-year-old son on audits with him, which is his personal choice. But would you take your son out with you, or is it too dangerous?
I would, if he was old enough, I know, to verbally speak his mind. Because I feel like I am very confident in my ability to keep those with me safe. Some people don't have the personality to keep themselves safe, so they shouldn't take anybody with them. But I personally, that's a touchy subject, and I don't want to tell somebody what they should and shouldn't do with their kids. But if you're an argumentative, altercation-seeking person, you shouldn't take your kid with you. But if you're generally doing this for the right reason and it's all informative and you want to actually expose your kid to change, I don't see a problem with it. But only you can make that call.
I always use the saying that Ali lost a couple fights. Have you lost your temper when it comes to interaction with the police ever?
No, I haven't. Every altercation I've had with law enforcement, you've seen it's on YouTube. Every single one of them, except the one that I didn't record my first video. But I've yet to lose my cool, and I think the one where I should have lost my cool was when the sheriff spit on me outside the courthouse. That was a tough day for me because I realized I was shaking in my car, mad, but I knew that I had to be more professional than I expected him to be because all eyes were on me at that moment, and so I had to carry myself in a different manner. But I don't think I've ever lost my cool, and if there was ever a time to lose my cool, it was probably then, and I think I handled it well.
If you could,
but he spit on me, and I wasn't happy about that.
if you could mold the perfect auditor, what attributes would they have and why?
If I could mold the perfect auditor,
Mm-hmm.
You want me to be honest?
Mm-hmm.
My personality with David Earl Ward's knowledge and my demeanor, my presence with Houston's knowledge, and Kim's research ability, and honestly, that's it. I don't know many other auditors, so I don't want anybody to feel like I'm leaving them out as a disrespect way, saying, "Oh well, he just don't appreciate my work." I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. But from what I've seen, the most knowledgeable person I've ever seen do this was News Now Houston. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen anybody else as informative as him. He just knows his shit, and we can't deny that. If you can put his knowledge into my demeanor, and my composure, with Kim's ability to really look up and know what's going on beforehand, I think you'd have a very, very vicious person.
I interviewed David Earl on another channel, and he mentioned the importance of a backup camera, body cam, GoPro attached to the chest. He has a way that that camera can't be turned off until he does it. How important is it to have that backup cam when and if you do get arrested, to document the arrest, etc.?
See, that's a tricky situation, because I know people who's been arrested and their property hasn't been released to them, and then somehow that case gets dismissed or thrown out, and they never get their evidence back. I mean, so it's damn sure. I mean, it's very much so useful if you can use it, but the question is you're going to be able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
Do you? So we discussed earlier, and I'm gonna ask you a few more, and then I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for your time, by the way. You made an interesting statement earlier that it's going to get worse before it gets better. What needs to be done in order to bridge the gap between civilians and law enforcement?
More civilians getting off their ass and actually going out looking to be the change they expect to fall in their lap. We put all the pressure on law enforcement, and rightfully so. But I don't agree with how we act like this peace war is just supposed to fall in our lap. I don't get that. Like, I think if we really want to have them to closing, we really have to go out here and put our hands in and be willing to get dirty to make it right.
Do you feel? What are your opinions when you see like a George Floyd, etc.? Do you have high hopes of justice with high profile cases like that? And if so, if you don't, does that lower your morale at all?
I don't have a high hopes because I know how corrupt our government system is. That's how I don't have high hopes at all. I don't ever think justice is going to fully be served because they'll never lose the truth. That's just being honest with you. I don't have high hopes for it, and I hate it because the man doesn't deserve it. And I wouldn't even just say, just George Floyd. I mean, even when innocent white people are killed, I don't have any hopes for the case because it's just going to either go unsolved or justice won't be served fully, and I mean, nobody's ever happy.
Have you done any like seminars in your local area? I went to the Bang Network. I was on there. I think it was Bang Network, Bolt Action News, and I mentioned about 6-7 months ago about doing local seminars, and they just launched the Activism Network where they're doing seminars now. Have you done any seminars? Like, I mean, you could rent out a VFW and put a flyer out to get people to come to learn about the Constitution and their rights. Have you ever entertained that thought?
Yes, I've actually done one or two. I've been invited as a guest speaker. I've spoke at a couple colleges around here. I mean, I've done a few things, but I feel like a lot of people who want me to come speak feel like they see my YouTube channel and think I'm just this high priced person, and I tell them I'll come speak for free. I just enjoy the opportunity. I'm not a person that say, oh well, this is how much it costs to. I'm like, no, like I'll like if it's about that kind, like if that's the case, just tell me when. Just tell me when. I don't care how I get there. Just tell me when, and I'm there. Like I've done a few seminars, and I've spoke at a few colleges. I spoke at Claflin University here in South Carolina, and it was one of the best days ever. I mean, like just to see the knowledge that I helped these kids with, and to see the way that they really just didn't know any of the law, and to see the look on their faces when we got done, and then like they found my YouTube channel and they were like almost like awestruck, and I mean it was a cool moment, and I think ultimately that's what it's all about.
What are the top 3 highlights you have? I mean, obviously that's probably one of them. What are the top 3 highlights you have so far of being a YouTuber?
Chief Green, that moment, and at the college, and probably probably when I heard about that cop that spit on me, when I got the phone call from his sheriff and I found out he was fired. That was probably one of the most refreshing moments of my YouTube career.
Do you feel like he got fired because it was wrong immorally to do, or do you think he got fired because it was caught on film?
All the above, honestly. I mean, the things he did on film can't be denied at this point. I mean, it's on camera. But I mean, I think they fired him because, well, for one, that wasn't my first time up there. So he knew who I was. He said he knew who I was. They've used my videos for training purposes. So I mean, it wasn't like he's not been exposed to that type of situation. But it was refreshing to know that they actually do care enough about making changes and getting rid of the people who they feel like need to be that need to be gone. And so when I found out that they did fire him, I mean and they made his wife resign, when I found that out, that was a bit refreshing for me.
All right, I think that'll be Miss Sarah, do you have any questions for him since you've been waiting here nice and patiently? Do you have any questions?
No, I just enjoy listening to him and learning from him. That's all.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Miss Peanut, do you have any questions for him? You have any questions while we have him?
No, but talking to you. Yeah. They not really any question, but stay safe out there. I know you're going to be traveling this weekend. And I'm just a text message away.
You're breaking up, Peanut. But I think she said to be safe out there.
Okay, yeah, I moved. Can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, David, be safe out there, and I'm just a text message away.
Yes, ma'am.
Final question. Who are you most proud of your like students who have reached out to you and they've molded themselves into a pretty good auditor, cop watcher, advocate? Who are you really proud of that you want to give a shout out to as we close this interview?
Honestly, somebody who I know I really touched. Big Nick. Big Nick. I've seen a drastic change in Big Nick. Big Nick and Art in America. Those are two people that I've really seen a big change in, and I know a lot of people aren't fans of Art in America, but if you knew who he was when I first met him, when he only had 7,000 subscribers, to where he is now, and we've been in contact almost every week, every other week for since between then and now, to see the growth in him, and I know some people think he's just an instigator and he just wants to cause problems, and I mean that's just his style. That's how he gets down. But he really has grown as a person, and he's not as argumentative out the gate anymore. He does like to argue, but kind of lets you start fire first. I mean he's changed a good bit, but Big Nick has definitely struck me the most when it comes to change.
What would you like to plug as far as your channel or social media, where we can find you? What would you like to plug as we wrap up this interview?
My Instagram is NewsNowSC. I'm not as active on it. I mean, but that's gonna change once I start this whole comeback thing. But my Instagram is NewsNowSC. And my Facebook, Miss Lisa has my Facebook. Is David News Now David NNSC Jones. I'm not active on that at all. I'm gonna be honest with you, but it's there. But I'm probably going to be the most active on my Instagram. And again, that's News Now SC. If y'all want to go give that a follow, I'm going to be active on that starting tomorrow, actually, when I go on this auditing trip. Other than that, that's really the only places I really have time for.
One last question about YouTube. Do you feel like YouTube handcuffs you a little bit with the things you want to do and say, or no?
Do I feel like they handcuff me? No, I don't, because I feel like if YouTube have guidelines and policies, you follow. And if you can't be productive on what you want to do based on the guidelines and policies, then it's just not for you. But that's just how I look at it. And again, I'm made different when I'm that kind of stuff. If you can't play the game with the uniform you're issued, then maybe you shouldn't play it. But that's just how I look at it.
All right. Awesome. Well, I welcome you back to the community, and I know you and I both use air quotes when we use that word, but I welcome you back to the community. It is a breath of fresh air to have you back in this the community. We need a lot more of you. We need a lot more people like you in this movement. And I know everyone in this chat and on this channel is extremely glad to have you back.
Well, I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad y'all are glad to have me back. I hope I can really make a difference. But I mean, I'm definitely here for the long run, and I'm back. I'm going to hit the ground running tomorrow, and then Friday is going to be full of auditing out west. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, but the best is yet to come, so we're going to see how it goes.
You have an open door invite to come back whenever I do return. You do have an open door invite to come back on anytime you want, anything you want to get out there. You have my channel as an outlet, because I think you and I really vibe extremely well and have the same morals and thoughts, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely keep it in mind. And if I'm ever free and you want me to hop on here and say something, or just come say or come speak or come be a part of this, you just shoot me an email, and if it can get to me in time, I'll definitely join.